The fallout from the Mexican Grand Prix has taken an unexpected twist, with both Lewis Hamilton and Martin Brundle making strong statements that have reignited the debate over Formula One's fairness. Hamilton's reaction to the FIA's decision was immediate and uncompromising, calling the 10-second penalty that ruined his race unacceptable and accusing the governing body of applying double standards. What made his frustration even deeper was the FIA's own clarification after the event, admitting that he had not actually broken the race director's notes. For Hamilton, that contradiction summed up everything wrong with the system. How can a driver be punished so severely when even the officials admit there was no violation? His words captured not just his personal anger, but the confusion of fans who felt the penalty had no consistent logic behind it. Martin Brundle, analyzing the same race, approached the controversy from another angle, but his verdict was just as brutal. While he agreed that Hamilton's penalty followed the written procedure, he insisted that the FIA had failed in another area entirely by not penalizing Max Verstappen for his off-track moments at the start. He argued that Verstappen had gone too wide through the opening corners, cutting across the grass with no intention of making the corner, and said that under a fair system, such a move should have earned a drive-through penalty. His comments highlighted what many fans have been saying for months, that enforcement of the rules depends too much on who is involved, not what actually happens on track. Both Hamilton and Brundle, from their very different perspectives, exposed the same problem. The FIA's handling of the race left drivers and spectators equally unsure of what the standards really are. One moment, the stewards claimed no rule had been broken. The next, they justified one of the harshest penalties of the season. Meanwhile, other incidents, including Verstappen's aggressive start, went unchecked. For Hamilton, it was a personal blow that cost him a podium. For Brundle, it was proof that Formula One's governing body has lost sight of consistency. Together, their words have fueled a growing sense that something must change. As the dust settles, their statements continue to echo around the paddock. Hamilton's frustration has turned into a symbol of the driver's struggle for fair treatment, while Brundle's analysis has given voice to fans who feel that justice in Formula One has become unpredictable. And as the FIA faces rising pressure to explain its reasoning, one thing is clear: both a 7-time world champion and one of the sport's most respected analysts agree that the system is broken. The world of Formula One has no choice but to listen. Oh, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and stay until the end, because what Hamilton and Brundle have revealed about the FIA after Mexico could change everything you thought you knew about how Formula One is really run. The uproar following the Mexican Grand Prix has only grown louder as both Lewis Hamilton and Martin Brundle delivered brutally honest statements that have set Formula One's entire officiating system under the microscope. Hamilton, furious but composed, used his platform to drop what many are calling one of the most direct and powerful criticisms of the FIA in recent years. He made it clear that the problem wasn't just his 10-second penalty, it was what that penalty represented: a system that punishes selectively and inconsistently. For him, this wasn't about bad luck or sour grapes. It was about a pattern of decisions that have repeatedly undermined the principle of fair racing. When Hamilton told reporters he felt let down by the governing body, it wasn't just a comment, it was a statement of lost faith. What made Hamilton's reaction so powerful was its tone. There was no shouting, no dramatic gesture, just quiet conviction. He explained that he had already lost momentum and control when his car went wide, meaning the penalty made little sporting sense. And yet, moments earlier in the same race, Max Verstappen had gone off track multiple times, once cutting entirely across the grass and escaped without a single warning. The FIA's own report later confirmed that Hamilton had not breached any race director's notes, but they still concluded he had gained a lasting advantage. For Hamilton and his fans, that contradiction was indefensible. How could the same organization admit that no rule was broken, yet impose one of the harshest time penalties of the season? It felt less like enforcement and more like judgment by perception. In his view, Verstappen's opening lap maneuver was reckless, even calculated, as he had no intention of making the corner and instead powered across the grass to avoid losing ground. Brundle went as far as to say that Verstappen's actions should have resulted in a drive-through penalty, a much harsher punishment than Hamilton received, to set a proper deterrent and stop the silliness that has become common at race starts. His comments struck a nerve because they exposed a fundamental flaw: the FIA's inconsistent interpretation of what deserves a penalty. Brundle didn't shy away from analyzing Hamilton's incident either. He broke it down corner by corner, pointing out that while Verstappen had earned the right to take the racing line into turn 1, Hamilton's failure to rejoin through the designated route gave him too much of an advantage. According to Brundle, the 10-second penalty was technically correct, but only if the same logic applied universally. The fact that it didn't was the real issue. He noted that multiple drivers had gone wide through turns 1 and 2 during the chaotic start, yet none faced any form of sanction. That selective enforcement, Brundle argued, undermines the credibility of race control. You can't apply the rulebook halfway, he said, summing up what many fans had been thinking since the checkered flag. His most striking comment came when he said, half in frustration and half in disbelief, that Verstappen took the risk on the outside, knowing full well he could just bury the throttle and carry on. That, Brundle argued, was the core of the problem, a growing culture among drivers where cutting corners has no real consequence. If a driver can leave the track, gain a position, or maintain one, and simply rely on lenient officiating to escape punishment, then the integrity of racing itself is at stake. Brundle's solution, a stronger, more consistent application of the rules, even if it means imposing harsher penalties, resonated with both fans and analysts. His call for a drive-through penalty wasn't about targeting Verstappen. It was about restoring balance to how Formula One polices itself. Hamilton, meanwhile, doubled down on his stance, telling journalists that what happened in Mexico was another example of the inconsistency they've been dealing with for years. He explained that all he wanted was equality in how decisions were made. It shouldn't matter who you are or what car you drive, the rules should be the same, he said, echoing a sentiment that has defined much of his recent frustration. The calm authority in his voice made it clear that he wasn't speaking out of anger alone, but out of principle. For a driver who has spent 2 decades at the highest level, his words carried weight, and they hit directly at the heart of the FIA's credibility. Fred Vasseur's support only amplified the message. The Ferrari boss criticized the penalty as not very well managed and questioned how such a call could be justified when Hamilton had clearly lost time during the incident. Vasseur reminded reporters that Verstappen had also cut the track earlier without consequence, calling the entire situation unbalanced. Together, Hamilton's disappointment, Brundle's analysis, and Vasseur's critique created a united front of voices demanding reform. This time, it wasn't just fans or journalists, it was drivers, team leaders, and commentators all pointing to the same flaw. The FIA's own attempt to defend its actions only added fuel to the fire. In their official clarification, they insisted that Hamilton wasn't punished for leaving the track, but for gaining a lasting advantage by not giving the position back. Yet even that explanation contradicted their own admission that he had no chance to follow the correct escape route due to speed and track conditions. The contradiction was glaring. To many, it sounded like the FIA was bending its reasoning to fit the decision rather than the other way around. Fans, already sensitive to perceptions of bias, exploded online. Social media threads filled with comments accusing the FIA of protecting Verstappen and applying double standards. Even neutral viewers were left questioning why one incident triggered an extreme penalty while several others went ignored.